Và đặc biệt trong ngày hôm nay chúng ta có một vị khách mời là anh Tony Vũ. Anh sẽ có đôi lời chia sẻ bằng tiếng Anh nhân ngày Vu Lan. Xin mời anh Tony.
With Moggallana and how he asked the Buddha to help his mother to escape from the hungry ghost realm. And we all know that story. We've heard that story countless of times. But I want to take it a bit further and share with you how important this ceremony is and how it relates to in today's time when it comes to mental health. We can all agree that mental health in today's society is a very big problem. Mostly because we all get caught up in our phones, we all get caught up in our social medias, we all get caught up in the everydays back and forth of work and our school and our career, and we forget what is most important to us, and that is our spirituality. That is tending to our inner self, and that is developing ourselves to become a better person. And you might ask, oh, who is this person that is talking about mental health, and how is he qualified to talk about it? I have studied Buddhism ever since I was a little kid, and I've learned Buddhism at a very young age, practicing the Eastern tradition and learning the philosophies of Buddhism. But most importantly, being born and raised here, I am around a lot of people, and I'm around people my age or people who are born here, and most importantly, people in Western society, and I've seen the differences between each cultures. But what's most important is that when we come to Buddhism, we understand that Buddhism is a timeless philosophy. It doesn't matter if it's 2,000 years ago, it doesn't matter if it's today, and it doesn't matter if it's 2,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now. The teachings of the Buddha remains timeless. That is because the teachings of the Buddha falls on the fundamentals of the universe. He shares about the laws of cause and effect. He shares about the laws of impermanence. He shares about the laws of no self and all the fundamental laws of the universe, that if we learn to live in accordance to this law, then this law will bless us with a happy life. And when Moggallana asked the Buddha how he can help his mother, the meaning of the Ulambana ceremony, or the Levulan ceremony, the Buddha said, on the 15th of the 7th lunar month is the last day of the rainy retreat, and is filled with wholesome dharmic joy. Out of compassion to liberate your deceased mother, use a basin to gather food of 100 different tastes, and offer it to the Sangha of the 10 directions, to accumulate immeasurable merit. The merits, coupled with the pure virtues of the Sangha of the 10 directions, will not only liberate your mother, but also the parents of others who are suffering. So the essence of this ceremony, the essence of this festival, the essence of being here, is learning how to practice generosity. When we learn how to couple generosity with compassion, that's when we learn to change our life. That's when we learn to tap into our inner self and bring out happiness that is within us. But most importantly, when we take today and we learn to practice generosity out of the goodwill of our heart, out of the goodness of our heart, that's when we start to see changes. For example, there are 3 different types of generosity. The first type of generosity is generosity of material goods, meaning that if you see someone who is homeless, if you see someone who is starving, if you see someone who is helpless, then you use your money or material goods, whether it's medicine, whether it's money, whether it's food, whether it's water. Any of those is called generosity of material goods. Number 2 is generosity of prayer or fearlessness. If you see someone being afraid, if you see someone living in fear, if you see someone who is scared, then you use your protection, you use your words, you use your kindness to help those who are in fear. The last is generosity of dharma, meaning that there's a saying, if you give a man a fish, he can eat for a day. If you teach a man a fish, he can eat for a lifetime. Meaning that you share someone your experiences, your wisdom, your knowledge, so that they can stand on their 2 feet and walk on their own. When you practice these type of generosity, what happens is that you generate immeasurable merits. But especially today, when you come together at this temple and you offer money or food or whatever it is to the Sangha of the 10 directions, today is when you gather the most merits. But the merits here is not you hold on to yourself. That's not the point of practicing generosity. The point of practicing generosity is to let go of those that come. If money comes to you, learn to let it go. If goodness comes to you, learn to let it go. When you learn to live a life of letting go, and instead of holding on, but you learn to let go, that's when you start to practice the laws of cause and effect, but in a positive way. See, the problem in today's society is that we hold on to things. Money comes to us, we hold on to it. Something comes up to, we hold on to it. We have a nice car, we hold on to it. We have a nice house, we hold on to it. But the problem about holding on and hoarding everything is that's when you start to generate a lot of greed. And when you practice greed, it's no different than Moggallana's mother. The reason why she fell into the hungry ghost realm is because she lived a life of greed. But when you start to live a life letting go and releasing everything, that's when you start to develop your inner self. There was a time during the Buddha's time when someone came to the Buddha and said, "You are the Buddha. What have you gained when you achieved enlightenment?" And the Buddha said, "I have not gained anything. What I've learned is that I learned to release everything." We have in ourselves, in our mind, greed, anger, and ignorance. And the more we hold on to things, the more we tend to and cater to our greedy side. When someone says something to us that affects us, we become angry. The more we become angry, the more we cater to our angry side. When we're blinded by the laws of cause and effect, we're blinded by the laws of impermanence, when we are blinded by these natural laws, we're only catering to our ignorant side. So what does the Buddha taught? The Buddha taught to release the anger, release the greed, release the ignorance. Learn to peel away the layers within our mind that is covering our true essence, our true nature, which is our Buddha nature. We in ourselves have the ability, have the power to achieve enlightenment. The reason why we're not enlightened is because we have greed, anger, and ignorance covering our Buddha nature. So coming together in this time, when we learn to focus on the present moment, when we learn to focus the here and now, when we see our thought process, whenever we see anger arises, we learn to release it and not react to it. When greed arises, we learn to release it and not respond to it. When ignorance arises, we learn to release it and not be controlled by it. So when we learn to release everything, and we learn to practice generosity and give back to those less fortunate, we give back to those in need, and we give back to those who needs our help, that's when we are truly practicing Buddhism. See, Buddhism is not just praying and coming to the temple and meditating for 5 minutes. No, Buddhism is a lifestyle. It's a philosophy. It's the way of life. Buddhism is eating, sleeping, and walking, being mindful and present at the very present moment. Being mindful and present at every waking moment. It's not just coming to the temple every day or every week just for an hour and say that I'm a Buddhist. No, it doesn't work that way. You know, it's when you're driving, focus on your breath. When you're eating, focus on your breath. When you're walking, focus on your breath. When you're studying, focus on your breath. When you're walking, when you're running, when you're exercising, focus on your breath. Focus on the present moment. Because when you focus on the present moment, that's when you have the power to change your life. When you focus on the present moment, that's when you have the power to influence the future. When you focus on the present moment, that's when you start to gain happiness in the present moment. But most importantly, you generate positive karma that will only bring good things into your life. So that is the essence of this festival. That is the essence of the Ulaanbaatar festival. So, before I conclude, to wrap things up, Buddhism is not something very difficult to understand. Now that I'm a part of the everyday society and seeing how people operate and seeing how people think, we have to come back to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals here is be in the present moment. When you are in the present moment, and you learn to practice generosity. But on the other side of generosity is compassion, but also wisdom as well. When you practice all these three, that's when you start to conquer depression. That's when you conquer anxiety. That's when you conquer all the mental health issues that you see in today's society. Because where does depression come from? And just a very simple understanding. Those who live in the past are depressed. Those who live in the future are anxious. But those who live in the present is free. So learn to live in the present moment, and you will find yourself free from all the shackles of life. So before I conclude, I hope you have a great and wonderful day. May the blessings and the teachings of the Buddha bless you and your family from here on forward. Namo Buddhaya.
Xin cảm ơn anh Tony với những lời chia sẻ ngày hôm nay, đặc biệt là các em trẻ